All right, so we were going to talk about feminism. So he was saying Roman Catholicism is a bulwark against feminism. Well, you know what? I just posted an entire thread that goes in depth about the reason that women stopped wearing head coverings in the churches. And it originates in the Roman Catholic Church, that they bent the knee to a feminist protest. Did you know this? This is actually why people stopped wearing head coverings in churches. So the Roman Catholic Church is a bulwark against feminism, according to him. Well, he doesn't know that just in the 70s, it completely changed almost all their teachings. Okay. Look at Vatican II, roughly around a similar time frame. But they were busy bending the knee to feminist activists. So let's go through this. This is forgotten history, how a feminist activist tricked the world into ending a 2,000-year-old Christian tradition. The real reason women stopped wearing head coverings in church. Let's dive through this info. Elizabeth Betty Farians, who passed away in 2013, was a committed feminist activist. She founded the first community sports league for girls in Cincinnati. She also was engaged in civil rights protests in the South. She wanted to make a difference on a bigger scale, so she applied to St. Mary's College, which had the first theology program for women. By the way, Roman Catholic Church, first theological program for women in a university. She knew she wanted to study theology so she could, quote unquote, speak with authority in religious circles, with the goal of challenging Roman Catholic theologians who insisted that women's subordination was divinely ordained, aka wearing head coverings and serving your husband, basically. The actual family structure. She wanted to upend the family structure. Step one, head coverings had to go bye-bye. Soon she soon became among the first women in the United States to receive a PhD in theology. This is the woman right here. Okay. After graduating, Farian struggled to find acceptance in the all-male world of Catholic theology. She taught Thomistic philosophy in the University of Dayton with the understanding that she would be allowed to teach theology after 2 years. The promise was never kept by the university. After pressuring the school to hold up its end of the deal, she was terminated, so she was fired by the university. Seeking a new cause, she sought out Betty Friedan. For anybody that's familiar with feminism history, this should be a very familiar face to you. She's the one that founded the National Organization for Women, the NOW program. So she sought out Betty Friedan, who had just founded the National Organization for Women, NOW, and arranged for a meeting. Over a drink at the Bridgeport train station, she convinced Friedan that the patriarchal values embedded in religion were fundamental to women's oppression. The Ecumenical Task Force became the NOW Task Force on Women and Religion, one of the organization's 7 founding task forces, with Farians as its head. So this same feminist here became the head of the NOW Task Force. In 1968, the NOW Task Force called for a national unveiling to protest the Catholic tradition of requiring women to cover their heads in church. The Easter Bonnet Rebellion. Here's a little snippet from a newspaper talking about the Easter Bonnet Rebellion. Women used Easter Sunday protest to protest church rules on the coverings of heads. This took place the following Easter at a Milwaukee church after a priest criticized a woman for her uncovered head. 15 women with outrageously large hats approached the communion rail, removed their hats, and demanded to receive communion in the first church demonstration for women's rights. Quickly led into additional widespread feminist protests across the country and later spread into Europe. So it all started with the Easter Bonnet Rebellion. So these feminist groups sought to subvert the Roman Catholic Church, subvert Christianity as a whole. What were they going to do? They saw this priest was calling out a woman for not covering her head, wasn't giving her communion, which was common at the time, for them to call it out. Not that it was common for women to have their heads uncovered. That's very uncommon at this time, at least. So they stage a protest in the middle of the church. Anyway, it spreads throughout Europe, spreads throughout the United States like wildfire. The news starts covering like crazy. Women are up in a tizzy. Several other different protests take place. To attempt to appease the public outcry, a new Roman Catholic missal was published in 1970 that allowed women to serve as lectors for the first time, but only if no man was available, and required them to stand outside the holiest part of the altar. Farians was enraged. She burnt a copy of the new regulation, wrapped the ashes in a pink ribbon, and sent the package to Cardinal John Dearden, head of the National Conference of Catholic Bishops, with a poem that read, "We've burnt your sacred books, your latest oppressive words. We're sick with your pomp and male prerogative. We're weary of your callous stance towards women in the church. You have arred us of our rights and preached that it was in the name of God." So, real pleasant woman to speak to. Noting that none of the half measures appeared, or none of the half measures appeased this ever-growing feminist movement, and in response to the mass public outcry, in the 1970s, there was a judgment issued by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, which Cardinal Smoochie runs now, by the way. This is in the 70s. In a document titled Inter Insigniores, that states that since chapel veils were not a matter of faith, it is no longer mandatory for women to wear them. In paragraph 4, it states, "It must be noted that these ordinances, probably inspired by the customs of the period," so they're changing their teaching basically, "concern scarcely more than disciplinary practices of minor importance, such as the obligation imposed upon women to wear a veil on their head." 1 Corinthians 11, 2 through 16, such requirements no longer have a normative value. So they're saying, even though this is in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 11, 2 through 16, this regulation no longer has a normative value. We're not going to listen to what the Bible says anymore. This is a minor importance, because we have all these women screaming at us. We have these feminists screeching at us. But your big, strong, trad and based Roman Catholic Church end up bending the knee and change their code of canon law. Prior to this time, head coverings were mandated in the 1917 Code of Canon Law. It stated that basically women need to wear head coverings. And in 1983, the Code of Canon Law, the canon about head veils was not reissued. Basically, it was dropped. So they changed their teaching according to this feminist protest. Farian's work had been completed. Eventually, like other leaders of the Roman Catholic feminist movement, she left the church. Surprise, surprise. Same thing happened to the Jewish priest that infiltrated the Roman Catholic Church and helped to write Nostra Aetate. Father Gregory Baum. He left immediately after his mission was accomplished. See you later. She returned to Cincinnati and became a pioneering animals' rights and vegan activist. And she inspired Catholics for Free Choice, which is a pro-unaliving babies organization, so on and so forth. Anyway, you get the point. So based in trad Roman Catholic Church stood up to feminism? I don't think so. And it's one of the reasons why women don't cover their heads in churches today, because of a feminist protest. So on a couple of different issues we've shown, Nick doesn't really know what he's talking about, especially when it comes to theology. When it comes to his perception of the Roman Catholic Church, it's completely off. But I think we've discussed Nick quite enough. I think that's everything I wanted to cover in reference to him. But here's a good question. Why don't all Orthodox women cover their heads in church or become bald? Well, unfortunately, some of the Orthodox churches in America followed the Roman Catholics in this false idea. So this is actually where they get that from. And this is unique to the American context, by the way. If you go to other countries, all the women in the Orthodox churches are covering their heads. So this is the Roman Catholic influence actually affecting some of our churches as well. It's very unfortunate.